Ho, ho, ho.
Ha.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. It's the final episode of the year for us. So hopefully you guys will enjoy today's show. We definitely have a good one for you. As of course, we will bring you the top 5 comics. And then after that, we'll dive a little bit into the news. But then we're going to also discuss what are, I guess, favorite comics or what we're most anticipating for kind of like 2025 or at least the beginning of 2025, right? So and this kind of goes really good with like a topic that we're discussing, and that's like, X-Men event coming up in 2025. So that's also going to be in the news that we talk about today. So Brant and Kat, how you guys doing today?
I just got off a plane from New Orleans this morning, so I'm tired, but I'm here and excited to talk about comics.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's already been a busy week and it just started. So, but I'm excited. Last show of the year for us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. I just got home from tennis, not even an hour ago. So it's like, I'm here.
Yeah. Had to do it right. I'm not going to keep this on for the whole show because it could get too hot.
The double hats.
The double hats, right? But yeah, had to keep the Nike hat thing going, right? So
Yeah, because you're just a Nike hat guy.
That's right. That's me.
So, are you a different mic today or no mic today?
No, same mic. Is it working?
It sounds very low.
It sounds low, but like
yeah.
it's clear.
I bet it's going out. I bet that's what the problem is. So, like what Mike's referencing on my channel, I did a video. My mic just sounded terrible, and I tried to fix it, and it did not work. So,
it's not much you can do. It's not too much you can do with like the Blue Snowball mics. They're pretty basic,
Oh, it actually switched to my headphone mic. That's why it's so low.
Oh, there you go.
See?
It does sound like it's coming from a headphone.
How's that? Is that better?
That's much better.
Much better, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
See?
I'm glad you caught that, Mike.
Look at that. That's why I'm here. I could tell the difference. And Lenny's on the show today too. What's up, Lenny?
She is. She's making so much noise. I was like, let's pick her up. Let's pick her up, right, Lenny?
She looks like a little stuffed animal.
She really does. She looks like an Ewok.
Looks like an Ewok.
Yeah, or like Chewbacca's, like Chewbacca's hair.
Chewbacca. I've heard. I've heard that she looks like the furniture from Beauty and the Beast. I've heard it all.
Oh God. All right. So I think today what we decided to do is we're going to discuss those comic books first before we go into the 2025 stuff. So last discussion of the year between all three of us and the group on these comics here. So let's kick it off here. Let's kick it off with Amazing Spider-Man issue 63. So we get the continuation of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. This time we get a little bit more of the new girlfriend and kind of a relationship, maybe binding or friendship or mending the friendship between Black Cat and Peter. I thought this issue was fine. Again, it's like I found myself like least interested in the villain that he was fighting and more of the, the relationship aspect of it. But my only thing I think that I had an issue with this is like, what's the purpose of him dating Shay if it's just going back to the way it originally was when he was dating Mary Jane, when she didn't know he was Spider-Man and he has to lie to her all this time. And so it's like just building a relationship based off of lies once again. So I don't see the point in the new girlfriend.
And that's the frustrating part about this whole run is that it's just all the same stuff over and over again. It's like, I've seen this before in some way. I think the only thing that could be interesting about the girlfriend is if she talks more about where she works. That's the only thing that makes her different. So like she talks about it a little bit here. I was like, oh, that's a little interesting. I was by far more interested in the Black Cat conversation. I thought this issue was better than what we've been getting, but I'm also like,
I agree.
Again, it's just standard. It's not nothing too crazy there, but it's readable,
Yeah, it's definitely better than the previous, arcs and stuff like that. But it's still the Demon of the Week or Demon of the Month kind of thing with this. The exciting thing for me was the epilogue, including Juggernaut into this thing. We know he's coming because he's connected to this demon Sidorak and all that stuff. So that's what I was looking forward to, if anything, out of this. So, but as far as like the girlfriend goes, I think it could be interesting if, like, because she's worked with a bunch of criminals and stuff like that, that she's, if that comes out and she finds out he's Spider-Man, that she's prepared to deal with that, unlike Mary Jane was, so that could be a different dynamic that they could explore. But other than that, yeah, I agree with both of you.
We did have a couple of questions too. First, you guys been craving for Craven. No, I have not seen it yet.
No,
I have not heard anything great about it. I haven't even heard anything so bad that it's great. I heard it's just very boring. So I'm like,
I forgot it came out.
Yeah, honestly.
I knew it came out last week, and I
Right.
totally forgot about the movie until it was just mentioned now.
Yeah, because why would it be remembered? I think if I do go see it, it'll be like late January where nothing's really coming out. I might go see it, but it's not the top priority right now. Parker Lux says, do you guys have any comic Christmas sweaters or t-shirts? I have them. I don't wear them very often. That's not usually my thing, but I've gotten gifts over the years of Christmas comic stuff.
I actually have I just got it. It's a Spider-Man t-shirt that has Spidey's face with a Santa hat on it. And I was gonna wear it, but then I'm like, but we're gonna be talking about X-Men later, so like I wore my X-Men shirt.
Good point. So. Yeah, for sure. It's not really a Christmas thing, but it is like a winter thing. I've got like this red pullover shirt that it's kind of like this red textured thing, and it has the Spider-Man logo on the chest. But then like I've got a bunch of holiday t-shirts that are like geeky. They're not comic. They're mostly like Star Wars and Minions and stuff like that. But I've got like a whole bunch of those. So.
We have another question from Emmanuel. Did you guys like the Superman poster? Yeah, but I don't have much of a thought until we see that trailer, which of course comes out Thursday. So we're not going to talk about it until after the new year. Sure. So,
all right, cool. So we talked about Amazing Spider-Man. So there's that. I mean, there's not too much to talk about there. Next, we're going to talk about, well, at least Brent and I will talk about Transformers issue 15. So this kind of starts a new story arc. It sets things up where we are going to get this fight between Starscream and Soundwave. We're definitely going to get that. You saw that at the end of this issue. We wind up seeing Optimus Prime really making the decision that, they're going to defend human life here. Soundwave also makes that decision saying we're going to take the resources from Earth. Cybertron is really not worth it anymore. And there was just a lot of little things in here. There was like Cliff Jumper is on Cybertron right now. And then he was like with Blue Streak, and I think it was Blur. And then it was the tank dude, Warpath, I think his name was as well. And he witnesses like a change in those Transformers because they're just like, they suffered through the war and whatnot. So there was a lot of little plot points in this book, and also Soundwave like really planning attack when to hit the Autobots was quite interesting. So there was a lot of elements in this book, and of course I really enjoyed it. There's not an issue that goes by that I do not enjoy, right? I mean, and then you get Jorge Corona, who's back on the art once again on here.
Yeah, you also had whatever's going on with Optimus that's kind of bringing out this vengeful, violent side of him, and he doesn't understand if it's because a human merged with the Matrix or what's going on there, and they have to explore that too. But yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about last week, where that article had said, Decepticons versus Autobots. Obviously, it was Decepticon kind of Civil War thing going on, and they totally planned that out at the cliffhanger for this issue was going into that battle. So excited about that. Yeah, it was a good issue. Like you said, there's never a bad issue of this book for us. But yeah, I'm excited to see like this Civil War and what happens, because it's obvious that we're going to get the Constructicons versus the Combaticons, and that's pretty cool. So
yeah, I mean, you saw Bruticus like form at the end, and it was just oh shit, right? Like, what's going to happen now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, awesome issue. All right,
Mhm.
and then we have the Superwoman special issue 1. So, for me, this delivered. I think the
Mhm.
ending kind of put that exclamation point on there. It
Yeah.
was kind of predictable, like we talked about it last week, where we knew it was going to connect to absolute power, where she was going to get her powers from the Amazo robots, but it wound up going to the armor that she was wearing, and then she winds up, getting those powers. And but I didn't even put two and two together to sit there and go, okay, well, she got these powers, but when those robots were destroyed, like those powers got to go back to somebody, and all the other supers never lost their powers or got their powers back. I didn't even think of that. Zod could be one of those ones that was missing the power, and he's
Yeah.
powerless right now, and he's going to wind up stopping at nothing to get his superpowers back. So that's going to be an interesting story right there.
It was a good cliffhanger because that's what you gotta do with a one shot, where it's just like make it a standalone story enough that just enjoys the one shot, even if you're not reading Superman, but then give enough to the people who are reading Superman and be like, whoa, that's a cool cliffhanger. Let's explore that in the regular series. And I was actually surprised I saw some negative reviews for this one. I really liked it. I thought the art was solid. I love the girls' night out situation with the other super characters. Again, good cliffhanger, told you the whole story of Lois. I liked it. I thought it was really solid. I think it just shows how great Williamson's run is for Superman. Like everything's been a hit for me personally.
Yeah, before I give my comments, I do want to point out this thread. Mike Manhattan says, "Did anyone see that panel where Lois Lane was flying through the rings? That was a Superman 64 reference." I did not catch that, but I
didn't either.
I know that game. I know that video game for sure.
I played it too. Was it the best game in the world?
No, but that's definitely the thing you remember about it was the gold rings that he's flying through. So that's kind of funny. I didn't notice that. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this issue too. Of course, it was predictable. Of course, it's going to tie into absolute power. But the way that she kind of conveyed that story, and it felt very organic, even though you're getting a lot of information poured at you. It was conversational, so I don't know. It just felt good to receive it that way. You know what I mean? It just kind of made sense in the story how, she would pitch to Perry. And so she was pitching them this story and all this stuff. And that catches us up as the reader. I love her teaming up with them. All just the little moments of her with them at the office, etc. And then, of course, like you said, Mike, the Zod thing at the end was just, okay, that puts the icing on the cake for me. That's, I thought it was a really good issue, and it was well worth the wait, I thought. So,
I mean, the struggle that she had obviously was, should I use my powers? Shouldn't I use my powers?
Right.
What do I do? Clark is not here. Like, she couldn't really get a good answer,
Yeah.
And I like that struggle of the aspect of that book of her struggling,
Right.
and then her getting away with the others. I think people didn't like it because it's like, oh, it's like more sitting around drinking coffee and stuff like that, and that's not what I want to see in a super.
But it was an exposition. It was so like character driven,
It was fine. Yeah. There was nothing really wrong with it. I mean, I get it. We get a lot of that in comics right now, but I just feel like it didn't really interrupt the story at all. Like, it didn't take away from the story.
And I kind of like that it was a separate book, because then you don't have that complaint at all. Because if you didn't read this, then you're not interrupting your story at all. And they'll obviously touch on this in upcoming issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they're doing it with Lex Luthor too. I was looking at what books are coming out for the next couple of months for this, and they're doing it for Lex too. I think it's a great way to tell these side stories. I totally agree.
Yeah,
great book. All right, so let's move on to our number 5 pick of the week. Kat, what is yours?
Mine was Uncanny X-Men. We'll talk about obviously the crossover aspect. Because and to tease a little bit my thoughts of what my thoughts are for another crossover. I've actually been liking the crossovers. I kind of like that things have been connected. I was a little hesitant because I'm like, oh, it feels too soon, but I've enjoyed this. I like what they've been doing with the characters. It's cool seeing everyone together. Yeah, did it blow my mind? No, but I really think it's a setting up the pieces for this bigger crossover that's going to come up. And there's some good character moments. I think that we got in this issue is one where we got more from what's her face, right? Yeah, we got the whole story with I forget the blonde girl's name. What's her name? Becca, I want to say Becca.
Or
Yeah.
Calico, either one you want to call her.
Yeah,
Calico,
Calico,
we got a great moment with her being able to get out and then save the day and like kind of own her mutant-ism. So yeah, no, I liked it. But one thing I noticed, and maybe it's just because of what title you like, I just like the uncanny characters more though. Anytime the X-Men characters show up, I'm like, oh, I don't care about that story as much as I care about, you know, Jubilee and Rogue and the other characters. So we'll see as that goes on. But art's great. I've been enjoying the crossover.
I like kind of where Rogue kind of called out Cyclops a little bit in this issue too, and it kind of points to the whole vibe of the X-Men title and how they're more militant, they're more strategic, and there's less of the, you know, the emotions involved. There's less of that character work, and it, because of the way their interaction went, it almost felt like, okay, that's purposeful. We're going somewhere with that maybe. Because, you know, Cyclops has taken this whole stance of, you know, he's got to keep the X-Men together, not he, you know, it's family, but it's not, you know what I mean? He's on a mission, and that's the difference between the two teams, I think. And I thought that was really well illustrated here. But I agree with you. I like Uncanny X-Men better. I like the way the characters are handled better. I like the characters involved better. But this crossover so far has been really good, and it's, you know, it's making me like some of these kids more and more. So I'm curious to see if that's the case for you, Mike, or if you still just you're annoyed with the kids.
I like these past couple issues I've led to X-Men more. Just because I think there's too many characters in the Uncanny X-Men book. I do like the Calico character. Out of any of those kids, she is the best one, and I feel like
they're giving her the most time too.
She has the most time, and I feel like she has the most potential out of all of them. The other ones are just kind of there, in my opinion. I don't like how the two teams were going against each other. I get there was a mutant that was kind of manipulating anger towards the two teams, but they were going at it in the beginning as well. And I'm just kind of like, okay, like I get it, but at the same time, it's like they're still your mutants. They're still your friends. Jubilee, Beast, the new girl, whoever it is. If you both want to go in there and save the day, go for it. Like, why are we arguing over it, though?
I thought their clash was a little bit too soon. Like, they could have built up to that a little bit. But I did like that the kid kind of jumped the gun and went at Cyclops. And that was like, Wolverine was like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. But, you know, obviously then they had to fight. But I get your point. I agree with you to a degree. So, yeah, but I totally understand.
I'm like, come on, guys. And then and then you get the end where you wind up finding out like the other mutants that are imprisoned are, you know, working for Ellis, and it's, what was it, the Blob and Siren, and then you get introduced to the big
Toad.
door.
Yeah.
You know, Toad, door, and then you get the big door with the mutant is inside, which I think we're all thinking it's Xavier, right? I mean, I think maybe what we're getting at here.
Right. Based on obviously what's coming, what we'll talk about later, that seems to be a safe assumption.
Right. Okay. So what was your number 5, Brent?
Mine was Green Lantern issue, what is it, 18? I think so.
Yes.
This was kind of the closure of that arc as we go into the two series now. So ending. Very, very quick ending.
I think that's why it's number 5. To fractured, whatever, shattered something.
I think it's
fraction shattered. Yeah.
Fractured Spectrum or something like that. Yeah.
I actually have it written down because it's one of my books for 2025.
Nice.
So let's find out. I know it's something like that.
Fractured Spectrum.
There you go. So Brent was right.
So yeah, I mean, but it was decent. It's always a good book. It's just I'm looking forward to getting scaled down to Hal and stuff. But here we got Kilowog back on the right side, so that was good. But it, again, like you said, everything happened very quickly here. I liked seeing Kyle go up against this guy, the White Lantern versus whatever he's become, and all this stuff, and we learned that these gods are being released from the source wall and all this stuff. So there was a lot to keep track of, but I still enjoyed it. And I like seeing all the Green Lanterns fight and kind of win the day.
The artwork was beautiful too.
Yeah.
And it reminds me a lot of Jeff Johns' run. Don't you like?
Yeah.
I feel like it reminds you a lot of Jeff Johns' run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a good Carol Ferris moment in there,
Right.
and then you get the Sorrow Lantern that comes face to face with somebody in there at the end. Finally, I'm like, oh, look who's there. So, like, I want to see all that stuff happen. I just felt like this book was just like, it was rushed. Like, you put in the last issue, you put in a ton of stuff. And then in this issue, it was like, oh, we're getting a battle that's about to happen. And then just like that, boom, it's over. And you're like, shit, dude, like, what the heck, right?
I'm hoping they scale back. So that is something I kind of miss in these last couple of issues. Like, I just missed when it was about Hal and maybe Carol and maybe one other Green Lantern. And I know we're going to get there because we still have this title. We have the core coming up. We have this fractured book coming up. So it has to be the next issue or two. I think it's going to scale back again, which I think it needs.
I wonder if it was because of the events that kind of screwed things up a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I hope they like kind of go back and kind of fill in some of those blanks in that fractured book. So we'll see what goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. My number 5 book, believe it or not, is a book we already talked about, and that was a Superwoman special. So that was number 5 for me. Okay, so let's move on now. Let's talk about we just talked about Green Lantern, so let's talk about the newest Laura Kinney Wolverine issue 1. So, listen, for me, this just felt a little bit lackluster, a little bit generic, a little bit point A to point B, some weird villains not weird villains, but weird mutants, and things seem to happen just out of convenience. That's the way I got this book. It was like, okay, there's this mutant that puts this letter in the tree. Oh, look, I can smell it. Let me poke it out. And she finds that there's the letter in there. And then it's like, okay, let's go to the airport. Oh, look, I'm a mutant. My special ability is to know which other people are mutants. So, hey, we can kind of work together and we can do this. And there was just a lot of things that were out of convenience in this book. I did like Laura's message. I understand what she's going for, but the whole book and the mutants and the villain and just, it seemed like very much like a one shot. Like it could have ended just right there.
Exactly. That was my feeling. It felt like this filler issue that was just like, a creative team came in for one issue to give the other team a break kind of thing. That's the vibe that I got from it too.
And then you get the crossover with Elektra in the end. We're like, oh, that's where that's going.
Yeah.
Right. Like that came out of nowhere. I didn't understand that at all. But
because Erica Schultz writes both characters. That's why.
Yeah. And I get the connection there, but I don't understand like from what her new mission or her new purpose was, how that ties into it. I guess they'll tell us
exactly. Again, it just things just happen in this book,
Right. Exactly.
And I think that's the little bit of the frustrating thing about it is that it's not bad by any means. It's just not like you said, it's not too memorable. I want to give it one more issue. I want to see where it goes, but it's a shame because we've had such memorable Laura Kinney books. Like obviously you had Tom Taylor. You've had just previous ones, Christopher Yost making the character. So NYX, the original NYX was great. So there's just been so many people that put their stamp on Laura. I want to see the same thing here. That it's not. I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
Yeah, I agree. It's just one of those books where I was like, this is your number one issue. Like I am, and now you're going to rely on a crossover with another book that you're writing. Like establish the book first, then do your crossover. It's kind of like it's kind of like Cody Ziegler with Spider-Man and Deadpool. Look how many issues like he wrote of Deadpool before he's deciding to get his two books to cross over with each other, you know? So I don't know, man. I'm really going to be on the fence about this one. If I'm going to try another issue or not.
It's not like Laura Kinney needs Elektra or Daredevil in her book to get people to pick it up, right? She's X-23, you know what I mean? Yeah. She's Wolverine. So
exactly. Like if I wanted to read a team up book, I'll read a team up book. I don't want to read it. I want to read a Laura Kinney book, you know? Yeah. And so like when you got Tom Taylor's introduction to the series, it was good. You got this sisters, you got Gabby, you got, you know, it's very entertaining right from the start. And then it's just like, and then you got this. It's like, okay.
I just remembered I could see why they connected that thread now. I forgot that Elektra had fought one of the clones. I can't think of her name, but it was
no, I know who you're talking about in Gang War.
Yeah, so if it ties into that could make sense, and that could be an interesting story bringing her back into Laura's life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I probably will get that next issue just to see where that's going. But again, I just wish this issue was a little bit, like you said, Kat, more memorable.
Yep. Okay. So let's move on to our number 4. So Brant, what was your number 4?
Mine was Uncanny X-Men, so we already talked about it.
Okay. What about you, Kat?
Mine was Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 1. I think this would have been higher if the show was out because I was like, okay, so what happens in the pilot? Because I haven't seen it. But I also kind of liked it as a teaser for not knowing what's going to happen in the show. So I was like, oh, I kind of get a general sense now what the show is going to be. I like Nico. I really obviously enjoy seeing her here, even though, you know, she doesn't do much from a Runaway standpoint. But I like the art a lot. I'm curious to see where it's going to go, though, because it kind of shares a little bit from the MCU younger Ant character. He's just getting his powers now as a high schooler. So I'm also curious to see how it's going to be any different. But I liked it. I liked it enough that I'll definitely pick up issue 2. I just think it's weird timing.
I liked it, too. It was funny. Like, there was a lot of people, after I talked about it, they said they didn't like it. They didn't like the the artwork to it. They didn't like the they just didn't like the style of it. You know, and again, it's just a prequel to the show. You know what I'm saying? It's not anything that you're supposed to like.
They do reference episode 1, though. They do reference.
Yeah, they do.
They reference episode 1 where they're like, "This attack happened. Watch episode 1." I'm like, oh,
you know. But again, I liked it. I had a fun time with it. I like the artwork. I thought like Nico was very much unexpected. I did not expect to see her in this book.
I feel like I remember she was announced, but I didn't expect it going in. I was like, oh yeah, maybe that was a thing. I don't remember.
Yeah. Right. I didn't know about it, or if I did, I forgot to. So I like that though. First of all, I like Nico a lot. So it was cool seeing her there. And because this is like a completely different thing, I didn't mind like, okay, this messes up timelines of everything. I'm like, I don't care because she's a cool character. Their dynamic is really neat because she's not like Gwen or Mary Jane. She's like this rebel, and Peter is like this nerd. So kinda. Yeah. So there's like similarities, but they're complete opposites. And I like that friendship and where it could go. The kind of adventures they could get into, I think could be a lot of fun playing with that. So yeah, I actually liked it a lot. So it's got me excited for the cartoon, but I do wish it was there so I could go watch what happened if I did.
Or even if it was like a week from now.
Too. I like how he was in there.
Yeah.
Who? I missed that. Who?
Oh, Silvermane.
Yeah, the villains that picked interesting villains for this one.
Yeah, because obviously he becomes Cyborg later on, so I'm just curious if they go that route or not.
Right.
So, okay, cool. So that was yours, Kat. Your number 4.
Yep, it was.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then Brant's was
Uncanny,
and then mine is In Bloom issue 1 from Boom Studios.
Really?
Can you guys read that book?
No, I didn't get it.
I looked at it and it just something about it just didn't appeal to me, so I didn't.
There's a lot of books out this week too. So
It's very interesting book. It's like it has a little bit of like The Last of Us in there because it's like this plant life that takes over people. And
Right.
so you think it's like an apocalypse, but it kind of isn't. So there's this event that happens to people that turns them into like plant like people in a way, like features, right?
Yeah.
And they welcome it, like they want it to happen to them, right? And so they and this just randomly happened on Earth. And when this happened, it like turned all civilization. They welcomed it and they made people embrace it. And there's like wars that stopped happening and things like that. And there's this new society that happened. And at the same time, though, you have this serial killer that's out on the loose that is killing these people. And so there's been 13 murders. So they're doing these investigations. And then you learn more about this world where it's just like, okay, so then you got like the older people that have had this, right? They go to this place called the Upscaler. And so it's like a sacrifice. So you can continue the bloom to happen, right? So like these spores spill out into the atmosphere, more people become this thing, right? Or this, whatever it is. Well, you find out the secret of this chamber. And obviously something is not right here because one lady sits there and goes, you know what? I'm healthy. I don't want to go. And the person's like, too bad. And so like they stick her in this pit of acid. And then it just like, and she's like freaking dying in complete pain. And then at the end, you see the fumes come out of the place. Like, it's just so weird. I'm like, oh man, this shit's dark. Like something happened. Something was manufactured. Something is up here, but very interesting comic, very interesting concept as well. So I really liked it. I thought it was great. The artwork was pretty good in it too.
Sounds up your alley too for stuff you usually like.
Yeah, I just wish there was quite a bit of like different plot points going on, and I wish they would kind of just like focus a little bit more on one thing instead of diving into 4 different plot threads. Because I think it takes away from the book a little bit.
Gotcha.
So, all right. So let's see. Let's move on here. We got Uncanny X-Men we talked about. Black Lightning issue 2. So I told you guys I wasn't going to read the second issue. What did you think about this one?
I don't think the second issue is as strong as the first one because it dived so far into Nissa. And it just, again, I'll get the next issue. I want to see where it goes, but I like the first issue a bit more. I thought it was better balanced than this one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on the fence about the third issue, but because of that I can't think of his name. The kid that came to visit that had some problem with his watch or whatever, the single parent kid. His story for some reason intrigues me, and I'm curious to see where that goes a little bit more so than what's going on with Black Lightning and his kids, because like last issue, obviously there's this whole thing with her powers and everything, and then this whole issue they're not even together. Like Black Lightning and Thunder are off, doing whatever, and she's in therapy, and she's mad he's not there, and then when he finally does get back, she's just like, I don't want to talk to you. I just want to go home. I'm done with all this. And it's like, I don't know. It just wasn't strong enough for me. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And everything was at this weird pace in this issue. So definitely not as strong as the first issue for me.
I'm happy I passed on it then.
Yeah, I don't think you needed it. We'll see where it goes, but
yeah.
All right. So let's move on to our number 3. Kat, what's your number 3?
Mine was X Factor issue 5. I really like this book. I just think it's always surprising you. It's kind of Mark Russell at his best. I did not expect the character that died to die because you have these two guys making out, right? And they're making out the whole entire time. So you think it's just gonna like, oh, they're just establishing this relationship, and then one of them dies, and they have a setup for it last issue too. You get that emotional weight. And then you do get to see Polaris in here, and I like their confrontation. The artwork is really solid. I just think it's a very under the radar X-Men book that more people should be reading. I think it's a better version of the Suicide Squad.
The funny thing is like the general is sitting there going, there's a traitor here and you guys better give me your phones and this and that. And it's just like, and it was one of the mutants that was held like prisoner using a smart refrigerator to get the location so Darkstar can sit there and home in on them. I thought that was freaking hilarious. I'm like,
yeah,
that is so like it's just so. And then to the general, she's just like, oh, like I made the worst mistake ever by getting this smart refrigerator. It's just it's like a very serious moments that are going on, and then it's just something dumb like that, right? I just
and
I like about it.
And there's a lot of satire too, is all I was gonna say. So go on, Brent.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, especially considering the character that it was, the Cloud character, it's just like that's just hilarious. And then like when that person died, it's like it kind of led you to believe that because of who showed up to save everything, that can control gravity and all this stuff, that they probably caught him in air before they. But no, he just let him go.
Well, that's the thing, that's why it was so sudden in the end. You're like, whoa, what? He died? Like, you thought, again, he was going to have some sort of rescue, but that's what's fun about this book is that you never know who's going to survive and who's not. Fun personalities. Again, get this book if you're not. It's just like, I feel like it's something that a lot of people would easily pass up on.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's very entertaining. I like it. And it's just unpredictable, and that's what I like about it,
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's not my top 5, but it's real close. So,
all right. So, that was your number 3, Kat. All right, and what about you, Brent?
Mine was the Superwoman special.
Okay, cool. And mine was the Ultimate Universe 1 Year In.
That was a big one.
Book.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. No, I really.
By it, but yeah.
I was too, but I'm curious to hear what Mike has to say.
Yeah, me
so
too.
I liked it. I liked, like, obviously, I thought it was a pretty decent on jumping on point. So you get to know who the council is in this book, and then who the maker is, and then you get introduced to this world as Nick Fury, and you kind of get to see just things that he went through. But obviously, the council actually like gets its way or gets its jollies off of like destroying these life model decoys of this Nick Fury. Like, he has this plan that he's going to betray them all, and they're just like, yeah, right, that's not going to happen. And then like they freaking kill them all off, man. I just thought that was freaking awesome. I really enjoyed that aspect of it, because honestly, I didn't see that coming. So I thought that was very unpredictable as well. Did I think it was a little dense? I did. I thought there was a lot of reading in it, but I think it was a good book to kind of get people on board to understand who these different characters are. They could have went a different route by just giving you a bunch of flashbacks on things that went, on in the past year. But I liked this. And I also liked how we got this version of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Hand or whoever it is, right? So I did. I had a good time with this book.
I liked the Nick Fury thing, but what I thought the book was going to be was, aside from the Wolverine thing, I thought it was going to be some
teasers to everything.
Yeah, some teasers to what's coming in the new year. A little bit of a recap, sure, something to fill us in, but I was looking more towards like what's going to get me excited about jumping into this universe. That's kind of the vibe that I was expecting from it, and that's not what I got. So, and that story took up like 75% of the book, maybe 90%, because that Wolverine thing was very short. But I did like the Wolverine thing.
I wasn't expecting anything out of the Wolverine thing. I knew it was going to be like this cameo, type of deal.
Right.
So I wasn't expecting anything out of there. I just I just like that aspect of them just having a great time and having Nick Fury make a fool out of himself, and then just you get to see the whole chamber of them. So it was just something a little bit different. But no, I totally understand.
Yeah, I agree with Brant with wanting more connective tissue. Spider-Man sometimes references at least the maker, but like Ultimate X-Men so different. Ultimate Black Panther is so different. And this is definitely more for people enjoying Ultimates or reading Ultimates. And
True.
I really like the opening of this book, and I was kind of sad that that was the highest point for me, where it's like, oh, that's really interesting that they introduced this character and then they like kill him off. And then for me, it kind of went down from there. So having such a good pull you in opener didn't work for me, but I also wasn't bad. Like, again, you get to see Wolverine. This could have been a lot worse. It really could. Well, I'm glad it wasn't a recap book.
Yeah.
That it could have been that too.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't a bad book by any stretch. It wasn't what I wanted. That's all. It boils
Right.
down to. So.
I did not have, I would honestly tell you, I did not have high expectations for this book, because you never know what you're going to get in kind of like a year one special. Like, you're expecting almost like a recap type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. And but you said the right thing, Kat. Like, this is very much connected to the Ultimates itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say the next closest would be maybe obviously Ultimate Spider-Man, and then Black Panther. I don't see Ultimate X-Men connected to anything of this stuff. I think
Wolverine
it's
thing,
just,
maybe.
it's just yeah, the Wolverine, yes, but the Ultimate X, I feel like just a separate book, in my opinion. I can't see that connecting in any way, shape, or form. It's just so different. It's so out there.
Yeah, there was a mild reference to it. I forget which one of the council members had said they had to go deal with something in that place wherever Ultimate X-Men takes place, but that was about it.
Right. So, okay, cool. All right, so we got that done. So let's see. We just talked about that one. So we'll talk about Space Ghost. This is issue 8. Looks like Brant and I read this book. So once again, I feel like this is another really solid book. We get more of an origin story from Space Ghost on the villain here who destroyed his family, and he comes across this villain and he wants revenge and he's angry and he can't beat this guy. And now it's up to Jaina and Jace to go after and hopefully, save the day. Just an overall awesome issue in general. Just really fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we've been building up with this. We knew something had happened with Space Ghost's family and everything, and that's kind of why he gravitated towards these kids who were orphans. So they kind of make this makeshift family, but we never got this backstory ever in history of Space Ghost. So it's really cool to see this, and this is the first time that he's encountered this villain since his family was taken from him. And just he became a different person and went after him, and with dire consequences. So yeah, it was really strong emotional issue for Space Ghost and for the kids too, watching what happened to him, because they had that feed that they saw what was going on. So yeah, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question here. It says, hey guys, since Kat and Brant are writers, what books would you like to write if you had the chance?
I'll say that a book I got to write already was a dream book that is not announced yet. They'll probably be announced in the next couple of months, that I just got pages for, like colors for, and that was a dream book and a dream character I've wanted to work on. So I've already gotten to work on one dream character. But I mean, Spider-Man being the other one, right? Like, so again, keep your ears and eyes peeled for the actual announcement one, but Spider-Man would be cool. Like, it's interesting because it's hard with Spider-Man because you're like, what story would you do? But the B, like, if you do, I don't know if I would ever want to do the main title of Spider-Man right now, or at least that's not the dream, because I'm just like, at least now, again, I
not anymore, right? Because you're gonna get critiqued to death. So
exactly. Right. So if I wrote Spider-Man, I'd rather do like an Ultimate Spider-Man or a mini series or something, because I don't know if I want to do the main title right now.
Yeah. I mean, for me, obviously, Spider-Man is the dream character. But aside from Spider-Man or Scarlet Spider, I would actually like to take a crack at like New Warriors or Runaways or one of those kind of books. I think that would be a lot of fun, and they're properties that I absolutely love. So, yeah, that would be it for me, I think.
Good question.
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you.
All right, so let's move forward here. Talk about number 2. My number 2 is a book we just talked about, which is Space Ghost, issue 8. So what about you, Brant?
Mine is Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Okay.
I really like
Got
the book.
Mine was the Minor Arcana. I had it digitally, so I was like, which one is it again? I think for you that was released last week, though. For me, it was released this week, or maybe that was issue.
No, it was released.
It was released this week.
Yeah,
maybe that was last month that it was released on different dates. But I really like this book a lot. I think it's Jeff Lemire at his best, where we get to see that character work. We get to see the small town and those characters being a big part. Like in this issue, we get to see this girl who's kind of been hanging around our main character. Who's kind of been a nuisance. We learn a little bit about her and about her brother. Something happened to him, probably died. And there's this like puppet show that we get to see like psychic weird, beams of
treehouse thing, and she's like, "Oh, my brother's alive. Thanks a lot." And I'm like, "Okay." Right.
Yeah, and that was so interesting. And I like the way they intertwine that mystical psychic side of the story, but grounds it with these characters. And again, I think that is Jeff Lemire at his best. So, and every issue has something going on, you know. Last issue you had her ex-girlfriend or ex-friend, and now this issue you have this.
And at the end, though, you had the guy that handed her a picture of her grandfather. And he said, you have to rest up now before you move forward. So you're led to believe that one way or another, like her grandfather might be alive in this world.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I'm curious to see where it's going to go, because sometimes with Jeff Lemire's books, it takes long hiatuses. Like Phantom Road's a book I love from him, and it's just like, oh, where is this going? And it never really ended. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, definitely a cool book for sure. All right, so let's move on to I am surprised, Kat, you did read this Infinity.
I am too, actually.
And Brant too.
I thought it was going to be like a new reader friendly, maybe there'll be some cool character in it. Was not by any means.
Off of all those one shots that just happened.
Exactly. Right. And I knew that, but I was like, it's a mini series. They should try to make it new reader friendly. And yeah, they did. And also, like, I like, Colleen Wing was here. So I was like, oh, that'd be cool to like see what she's up to. They kill her off in this. I'm just like, I think I'm okay.
That's what they think of her, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't my thing. But again, if you've been following those one shots and you like this side of Marvel, you might enjoy this, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, I read like the first 3 of the one shots, I think, and I liked the first one, and then it started going downhill, and then I got behind and I never caught up. So I didn't finish it. So I was a little lost too. I like some of the characters. I love Colleen Wing. I like Star. I actually like Star. And I like Phil Coulson. And I think it's interesting that he's this Deathstone character. And I there was a couple of funny moments in here. But all in all, yeah, if you weren't completely caught up on that whole story, you're lost. And like you said, my favorite character in the whole thing, Colleen Wing, that happened. And so it's like, I didn't know how to feel about this book when it was over. It's like, and it wasn't as strong of a story as I was hoping either. So,
and her death felt random. It just felt like, I guess we'll just kill her off. And I'm just like, but she is a beloved character. She's such a cult favorite character. Why would you do that?
Right. I knew exactly what this book was, so I was like, I ain't even buying this book. So I stayed away from this.
You didn't miss anything on this one.
I read some of those one shots. And then I got tired of them. Like they weren't really, I felt like they weren't really accomplishing anything. You know what I'm saying? And it was like they felt very, it said it continued the story, but it felt very just like one shotty. So I just didn't feel like I was getting a very complete story. So I'm like, oh, all right, I'm done with this.
Yeah, and the problem with it is, like, even within this book, they kept repeatedly saying, "We're not a team. We're not heroes." It's like, what are you trying to do then? Like, what is this?
Right.
If you're not together, if you don't have the same goals, what are you actually? Why are you even in the same room together then? What's the point? It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Exactly. All right, so let's dive into our number one books of the week. So mine will be Transformers. So
Same,
Kat, what
of
is
course.
yours?
And mine was Superwoman, so we already talked about it.
Superwoman. And Brant, yours was Transformers too?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, awesome. Sounds good. So why don't we do this before we dive into this news and all that? Let's just dive into our most anticipated.
Sure.
Okay.
The
Yeah, we
for
can do
the for the week, right? Not
For the week,
topic.
yes.
Okay.
For the week, yes.
Yeah, for the week. Yeah. So most anticipated for books coming out next week. Let's see. We'll start with The Moon is Following Us. This is issue 1, right? This is this is issue 4. This is the
4.
image.
Yeah.
I was getting that mixed
Yeah.
up with another book. Yeah. Sorry. This is the Daniel Warren Johnson book.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely. I love this book. I think it's really good. I think it's creative. I like how we're in this dreamscape. It's very fantasy like, and the emotion that's in it as well, because now you got mom and dad trying to save their daughter that is in this this coma, and we also find out that the mom's mother is behind this as well. So I am so interested in the direction of this book now going forward. So I'm on board with this one.
Yeah, that cliffhanger last issue kind of got me excited because it's something different and it's like not expected. So that's what
It's the reason I'm still reading.
Exactly. All right, so Absolute Batman is the only one that made it on all 3 of our lists this week. So best book in the Absolute series. We talked about it every single week, I think. So just looking forward to what happens next with this one for sure.
Yeah, like you said, Brand, it's the best one. And like every issue like gave you something so different. So I want to see what issue 3 is going to bring. I just really like this book.
Yeah, I want to know more about obviously the relationship between Bruce and his mom. I want to know more of that.
His mom feels like she's gone through stuff. Like you could tell there's something there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess we're probably going to get more of Selena Kyle in this as well, because she was in the last page of the last issue too. We're going to see her involvement too.
Right. Good stuff. All right. So Kat and I both have Green Lantern, Green Arrow, World's Finest Special issue 1. I'm excited about this because it's Joshua Williamson writing all these characters, and you get a Flash.
I think it's Jeremy Adams.
Jeremy Adams. Sorry, I got.
Which is, I mean, again, I love both of them, but I'm like really excited for Jeremy Adams to write this.
Right. Yeah, Jeremy Adams on all 3 of these characters is going to be fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to this as well.
Yeah, I mean, like again, I haven't currently liked the run of Green Arrow, like this newest ones. I just want to see Jeremy Adams write Green Arrow again. Yeah, it's a classic team up. I'm super excited for this one. I think it's going to be great.
And then I have G.I. Joe issue number 2. Obviously, the big G.I. Joe fan I am. That's going to be something I'm anticipating always. Hopefully, it just keeps getting better and better. I'm sure it will too. Yeah, you like that first issue, right, Mike?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I just didn't put it on. You know what I want to see? Yeah, I want to see if the Baroness stays a Joe,
right,
or her demise from the Joes to go to Cobra. I want to see that.
Yeah, and I want to see if it's connected to Destro at all, traditionally, or if they go a completely different route, which I'm kind of hoping that would be cool to see something different. But I like her being a G.I. Joe, though. That's kind of unique, but I agree with you. I don't think it's going to last.
Right.
And then Ultimate Spider-Man, issue number 12 on both of yours. Obviously, I'm looking forward to it as well. Best Spider-Man book on the shelves.
It's also the end of the year thing. It's like
it's the end of a story. It's the end of a story arc. Mm-hmm. So I think something big could possibly happen.
I agree.
By the time we get to the end of this issue,
and against the end of it's end of the whole first year, I feel like we're gonna get a big reveal. And honestly, what I really like about this book, and I'm sure people would complain about, but for some reason don't complain about for this title, is I like it's a slow burn. I kind of like that it's just like kind of talky book where they just talk to each other and they get stuck in a room. And it is less of a Spider-Man book. If you're looking for that action-packed Spider-Man series,
This ain't it.
it's not that. No,
Right.
but that's what I
No.
like about it. Go read Amazing if you
But I
want
think
that.
but I think it gives you the book more character growth. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a lot more emotion, a lot more heart. Like, look at look at Ben Parker, like,
Ben's great
and
here.
look at Jay Jonah, and just look at like even Mary Jane in this book, like how much she loves her husband and how she cares for him, and just like even though we haven't seen very much, I want to see more of the kids. Like you feel something in this book where in the Amazing Spider-Man titles, you don't feel anything. There's nothing there at all. It
Yeah.
just things happen, so this feels a lot different.
Yeah, it
And I like
does.
the journalism
And-
side a lot. I enjoy like that
Yeah.
build up.
Yeah, and I think because we're all very connected to these characters too, it kind of enriches it for anybody that's a big fan of Spider-Man and his supporting cast, because you're diving deep into each one of these characters in this universe. And I don't know, it's just, for me, it's the best Hickman book ever, and that's
by
I
far
don't-
for me too.
yeah, I don't always love his stuff, but this is just hitting every note for me.
Because
Yeah.
honestly, I was not a big fan of his Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
X-Men, the Krakoa was not as big as everyone else was. Like this actually, like I look forward to it every month,
yeah,
So different from his other writing, honestly.
yeah, it really is.
We got a question here. Says Mike Manhattan says, you guys read any of the new EC comics?
I don't.
So
I know a
those
lot
are
of
like
people say
those
you
horror
should.
ones,
Yeah.
horror anthology books.
I don't read them, but I know like there's a big fan base towards them. So
Yeah.
I'm glad they're back.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
read the Christmas one that came out this week, and it was okay. There was like one or two decent stories, but I wasn't a fan of it. There were some other ones that have come out in the past where I've checked out an issue or two, and they're good. There's so many books that I don't want to like invest in just like anthology books. Really, that's what it comes down to,
And there's plenty of horror anthology books out there. Like you have
there is.
Hyde Street, you have
Yeah.
Ice Cream Man. Like they have that market already.
Yeah. And it's not that it's bad. Again, it's a lot out there, man. It's so hard to pick and choose all the time, All right. So, Kat, we want to go into that news.
And then we'll do our books we're looking forward to for 2025. But we will start with the news. So first, the only media news we have, we kind of alluded to it. Sony is officially stopping making Spidey spinoffs. This was something that was rumored when we did the last episode. We talked about it a little. Now it seems pretty confirmed, which, I don't know why they did in the first place. I get that Venom did well, but that was mostly because of Tom Hardy and that it was funny. I don't know what they're really trying to do with those other ones. Obviously, like I had a blast with Madam Web. We talk about that all the time, but like the Craven movie, Morbius, like the issue also that you are picking Venom is a popular character. He has series before the movies. He had his own comic.
Yeah.
Madam Web has never had her own comic. Morbius is not even a likable villain. Craven, he has the one comic that has a lot to do with Spider-Man. So it's just, they just picked really weird characters to do this.
Yeah, and it's like, for hardcore fans, sure, these characters will mean something, but for the general public, they're not going to know who the heck these people are. So, I mean, obviously they wanted to get as much money out of the franchise as they could, but yeah.
Like, how cool would it be if you had Kraven's The Last Hunt on screen?
Or even like Silk or Spider-Gwen or Miles you can't really do because of the Into the Spider-Verse, but there's like even other spider characters. Like I remember they're going to do something with Silk and she would have been a great character, I think, to do something. But yeah, obviously also Last Hunt, but they can't use Spider-Man. So that's the reason like they are making these movies and they can't use Spider-Man. So what's the point?
So stupid. Yeah.
The only character I could think of, I'm trying to think of a villain that you can use in Spider-Man's mythos besides Venom that you can make a movie. And even then we thought Venom was a bad idea because like, oh, what's Venom without Spider-Man? Probably only Green Goblin. I mean, I'd watch a Green Goblin movie.
Yeah, but again, who's a Green Goblin without Spider-Man? It's like,
I would say at least you have Harry. Like I would see a Norman versus Harry movie.
Yeah, I could see that. It's just he's one of those characters. Most of his villains are very connected to him. You know what I mean? So
I just feel like without Spider-Man, you should not make any of these movies. That's
especially, or like you at least should base them in the Spider-Man movies and be like, wow, this character is actually a hit. Let's see where their story goes after that. It's like, why start with the spinoff and then I don't know what they were expecting to even do with it, but a lot of people didn't even see Venom 3, and that's like one that was more popular. Like none of us here saw Venom 3, and we're huge Spider-Man fans. So I haven't had a chance to go see it because no one was really talking about it. And Venom 2 was kind of boring. Like I liked Venom 1 a lot more than the second one. All right, let's get into other news here. We have Mummy comic is coming to Skybound, so they're really just doing all the horror books over there.
Yeah, and I like the horror books. I think those that book I like because it's not an anthology book. It's an actual story that takes place within like 4 or 5 issues, right? So between Dracula and Frankenstein and the Creature of the Black Lagoon, like I'll read this Mummy book, and I'm interested to see where it goes. So yeah, I'm on board for that one.
Yeah, the Mummy has a big backstory, so I can understand that. Yeah. All right, Doctor Strange of Asgard is happening, so they're doing other stuff.
That's
Doctor
wild
Strange.
to me, right there, man. I heard that. I'm like, what? Well, since he's not like Sorcerer Supreme, it makes sense that he's, I guess, somewhere. So I want to know why he's on Asgard and what's going to go. I'll definitely try out the first issue of this for sure.
Yeah, I read a little bit of the article, and it's like he's getting Loki's help, and he's trying to be like the Sorcerer Supreme with Asgard or something. That's crazy. I got to see how that plays out. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna try it out.
All right. Next up is Spider-Naut to be introduced, and it's Juggernaut Spider-Man. It reeks of what's his Rick Rap. It's just like, why are you creating something with Peter Parker that's an interesting story? You don't need Spider-Naut. For me personally, I'm not very interested.
I mean, what is that? How is this happening? Like, is
Spider-Man
in the Juggernaut armor?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, sorry, somebody's audio cut out, or maybe it was me. Maybe my internet went out. But if it's Spider-Man in the Juggernaut armor to defeat that makes sense to me. At least it's just like a one-off kind of thing, so I don't mind it.
I hear Spider-Naut, I almost think of like garlic knots. Spider-Naut.
He will be a garlic knot by the end of the issue. It's interesting that this issue is actually not even written by Joe Kelly. So they're really trying to like figure out who the next writer is. So Joe Kelly wrote like 2 issues, and then someone else wrote this issue, which I actually thought was better because of like it was a different voice. So it's like it really is interesting to see that they're.
I think it was like Justina Ireland, I think, wrote this one.
And I think he's writing this too. He's writing the Juggernaut as well.
No, it says Joe Kelly in here on this.
Oh, Joe Kelly's writing this? Let me see. Yeah. I saw Ireland's name here, so give me a minute.
I think it's just they're rotating a couple issues here and there.
So they're both writing it. So brought to you by writers Joe Kelly and Justina Ireland. So I guess they're like back and forth with it. Cafu's doing some art. They did some of like the Valkyrie arts. That'll be cool at least.
Yeah, I like the artwork in the Amazing Spider-Man this past issue. It was a different artist too. It wasn't Ed McGuinness this time, so I thought they did a good job with it.
Yeah, the art has been solid, which is better than John Romita Jr., which actually we weren't going to talk about this news piece, but I'm pretty sure Godzilla vs. Marvel is going to be drawn by John Romita Jr.
That's definitely a pass. If that's the case, that's a pass, man.
Let me look because I just deleted it. Godzilla vs. Marvel is going to be drawn by. Let's see. He's drawn. Yeah, he's going to be. It's actually a couple people. So, no, John Romita Jr. There is he's doing the artwork for it. Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four. He has the art for that. So, I'm guessing there's going to be different issues. So, they're going to be different. Like Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four, Godzilla vs. Avengers. So, he's doing the Fantastic Four issue, which is going to be the first issue that comes out.
I think I'm going to just pass on that whole thing altogether.
Me
Like,
too. I'm
I
not a
was
huge
going to
Godzilla
anyway,
fan.
but
Godzilla
Yeah.
and DC. Why do you need Godzilla and Marvel? Like,
Well, especially if
Because
the art
Godzilla's
is not
popular, yeah.
as strong. Yeah,
Right,
Godzilla's so popular.
yeah.
Especially, I'm sure they're trying to get like a different market. They're just trying to hit people that are not the American market. I'm sure they're trying to like collect it for like the Japanese market, or people are huge fans of Godzilla. They'll spend
Yeah.
so much money on Godzilla.
Yep.
So I'm sure that's something as well. All right, let's go to our main topic here, which is the X-Men, and I'm gonna screen share this one, X-Manhunt. So we just had this crossover, and this is gonna be the next one, and this is just Charles Xavier, the most dangerous mutant in the world. So they're chasing Charles Xavier, and this is connecting to pretty much all the titles. So you have Uncanny
all of them.
X-Men, NYX. I know that I think Exceptional X-Men is the only one that's like a one shot, so you don't have to read it as part of it. So everything else is like actually parts of the story, and then Exceptional X-Men is just like, oh, here's a little side story, and then you have the Omega issue.
Gotcha.
Like I said, I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the last crossover. So why the hell not do another one? I'm interested.
I mean, the only good thing is that it only takes place in one issue each. And you know what I'm saying? So if it's like an 8-part story, it does take place in all that. I know it still forces you to buy a book maybe that you don't normally buy. And if you want to see that whole story, you got to buy like 8 books, 9. What was it? 8, 9 books altogether. So, I mean, that could be pricey for some people, but again, I think you're going to see, if you read this, you're probably going to get a determining factor on kind of like the future of the X-Men, on where they're going to go from here.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, but like you said, it's a very short crossover, even though it's taking place in all those books. You're talking a couple of months tops, so that's a good, like, nice contained crossover within the X books, and I like that. And I like the concept. I mean, it's Charles Xavier, who's been in prison since Krakoa fell and all this stuff, and we've heard very little about him. So I don't know. This could be exciting, and hopefully it leads to more exciting stuff to come in 2025.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, that's all the news. So I think we're going to jump into books we're most anticipated for 2025. So, yeah, we only have solicits up until March, so we don't have a ton of titles yet. But yeah, throw out some titles you're excited for. I know when I was looking, there's a lot more DC coming out than Marvel. For me, the Marvel books I was looking forward to was Magic, because I'm curious to see what that's going to be about. The Thing, because it's Tony Fleecs. I'm really excited for that. And then Ultimate Wolverine. And then, of course, you have the Doctor Doom series. I'm anticipating. I don't know if I'm excited for, but those are only 4 Marvel books I really had on my radar.
Yeah, I'm because of the creative team, the Thing. I'm curious about that one for sure, like you said. And Ultimate Wolverine. I didn't make a list, so I'm trying to quickly.
Just seeing what
Brand.
Yeah, I know. Sorry,
you had a whole week to prepare now.
No,
I know.
No, but those are ones I'm excited for. And after we talk about the books we're actually excited for, we can talk about like what we want to see from the industry in 2025 and everything.
Yeah.
But Mike, what Marvel books in particular are you excited for?
All right. Well, here's mine, because I prepared a list. First thing is I put up the New Champions book. I want to see how they get this thing underway. We slowly got introduced to the characters throughout 2024, and now their book is about to come out. So curious to see what that's going to be like. I'm not saying I'll like it. I'm just curious. Then we wind up getting obviously we talked about it, the Green Lantern Fractured Spectrum.
I think that's coming out.
That's going to be like Jeremy Adams, like, hey, let's get going here. I got this story I want to tell. This is it right here. So
speaking of Jeremy Adams, he's doing Aquaman. I'm really excited for that one.
Speaking
I'm
of
excited
that was next on my list.
Yeah.
And I'm not an Aquaman guy, right?
Me either.
So if he can write a good Aquaman to the point of where I like it, then you truly know this man is a gifted writer. But
he's really following in Jeff Johns' footsteps if you think about it.
Yeah,
again, Jeff Johns wrote Green Lantern, then wrote Aquaman.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and the artwork on this cover for the Aquaman book actually looks really good too.
Yeah, it's John Timms who did a lot of the Superboy stuff, like Teen Titans stuff. You've seen this. It's like kind of a Dan Mora style.
Gotcha. Yeah, it definitely looks like that. Also, the Ultimate Wolverine issue 1. I know we talked about that earlier. Definitely looking forward to that. And one of the independent books that is new, because I was trying to highlight like new number 1s, was also the Lucky Devils from Image Comics. I know that's obviously like the 8 Billion Genies thing. That's done by the same creative team on that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. I kind of looked into January, February. Like you said, it's hard to get to past further than that. But when you look at new number 1s and stuff like that, that's what I was most excited about as of right now, besides like what we want from the industry.
I'm excited for Absolute Flash and Zatanna. Zatanna I'm really excited for. Just because that last Zatanna series was really good. But yeah, Absolute Flash, Jeff Lemire is writing it. So I'm curious to see what he does with that. Oh, and the seasons. Mike Manhattan mentioned this, but I'm really excited for this one. It's Rick Remender, the artist from Outcast, Paul Aceta. It's like these two sister, like a story about sister. Let me see if I can get and it's also the giant bomb, the people who've been bringing grommets and Tin Can Society. So this one's about summer, winter, spring, and autumn are the season's sisters, the daughters of the world, renowned seasons detectives. 10 years ago, their famous parents disappeared, left to raise themselves. The sisters form an unbreakable bond. Now that bond is tested as the sisters fall prey to sinister forces. The young sister, Spring, is the last hope of saving them from a fate worse than death. Will Spring be able to piece her shattered family back together? I'm like, that sounds pretty, like, I'm into that. Yeah.
That does sound interesting. Yeah.
Well, Brant, did you get a list together yet?
I'm working on it. I was prepared the first time we were going to do this topic, but then I didn't write it all down. So I apologize.
You're like, I'm trying to remember. Lucky Devils.
Yeah.
Are you guys excited for that
one?
Yeah. That was the
one.
Yeah,
Mike had mentioned that. About. Yeah. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the Doom stuff. Green Lantern Corps. You mentioned the Lex Luthor special earlier. That's coming out next year as well. Looking forward to that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else besides the stuff you all mentioned, because you all mentioned
that's all I saw. Those were the big ones, I feel like.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's that's some good stuff. Yeah.
So here's a couple things that I would say that we probably are excited about to see what happens. One, obviously, is the future of Amazing Spider-Man and its creative team. Like, who's going to take over that book once this story is over?
I would love for Donny Cates to kind of come in, because we haven't seen him in a long time. I feel like that's the one person to get me really excited.
That would get people excited if he does come back, like he makes his return to Marvel and he takes over that title. I think if there's one person that can generate a lot of buzz on that title, it would be definitely him for sure.
And it would put his career back on track too, because obviously a lot has happened and he had to miss a lot. So, like he has to come back in a splash as well. So that would be kind of a cool splash for him. I really can't think of anybody else that would be like, whoa, let's see that. I genuinely can't think of anyone else that would excite me.
So then on the flip side of things here, I would be thinking that we're definitely, we're going to be getting the Hush 2 by Jim Lee and Jeb Loeb. But then after that's over, it'll be interesting to see who would be the creative team on Batman, because you're going to get a new team after that story.
I could see Tom Taylor doing Detective and Batman. I can see that.
Think he would do both though? I don't know, man.
I don't know who else would take it over besides like a Mark Waid, because he's been doing a lot already. He's doing Justice League. I don't know. How about you, Brent?
Jeremy
what do you
Adams.
think of? Oh, I mean, yeah,
Jeremy
then he's got 10
I would
titles
like
as well.
He's got Green Lantern. He's got
Aquaman.
Aquaman.
That's his
and
next
he's-
project, you know.
Man, that's funny.
That would be good, though. I would like to see that.
I mean, yeah, no, I love Jeremy Adams. That'd be great. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think if there's anyone else at DC where I'd be like, whoa,
Yeah.
do that.
That's the thing. Like at DC, who else would be the standout
You're
there?
like,
Wasn't
Kennedy
a rumor that
Johnson.
Dan Slott was writing
That could be
like
good.
some Superman?
Yeah,
was,
like a
different.
Superman story, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got like who's like Dan Waters is on Nightwing. It's like you got that. Philip Kennedy Johnson, is he on like a book or something like
He
that
is.
too?
Well, he's
Yeah,
on
he
Hulk
is. I
for
can't-
Marvel.
Yeah.
I don't remember where he's at with DC. I don't remember what I know he was writing the Green Lantern stuff. I know he was doing like the John Stewart stuff. So maybe he's helping with the Fractured story.
I don't know.
Peter J. Tomasi on Amazing Spider-Man. See, and
Peter J. Tomasi now is with Ghost Machine. I don't think he's gonna go anywhere.
That, and also I don't want to see a writer from 30 years ago write Spider-Man. We've already seen them write all the. He hasn't written Spider-Man, but I've seen him write all those type of stories already. I want a fresh voice, and for me, again, Donny Cates is someone who's written stuff before, but anything he touches is always a unique spin on the character. Peter J. Tomasi for me is very much like, let's go do it, which is not a bad thing, but let's do the what we usually do with this character. He doesn't really do twists on characters.
Right.
So I would want someone to like do something really different.
We got this one. It says, did you all read Batman Dark Patterns? That was awesome, and I've heard might be next. Did you guys read that book or no?
I did not.
I did read it. It was a well-written book. I didn't like the villain, so I'm not going to continue it. It's this weird thing where he's some kind of medical expert, and he's like put like a bunch of like sharp objects like tacks and nails and stuff through his body to where they're right next to major arteries and all that stuff. So if you punch him or anything, you could kill him. So Batman has a hard time fighting him. That kind of thing.
Oh my
but
God.
It's just weird, and it wasn't really my thing. So
right.
But to go back, there is one more book. I'm looking forward to it because it's coming back, Radiant Black, and he's got a co-writer now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got a co-writer, and it's somebody named Joe Clark. I'm not familiar. But yeah, it's the Catalyst War is over and all that stuff. So hopefully we'll get back to basic, and it'll
be like a good jumping on point for people.
Yeah.
The next thing, obviously, I know Brant and I are excited about is the entire Energon universe. Like, what will it lead into? Like, year one, you can basically say we got introduced to all the books and the major players, and we know it's all connected. So now, what's like the next steps, right? So, are the Joes and the Transformers going to interact? Are they going to fight for Cybertron? Like, is it going to lead into this like crossover event? And if it does, that's okay, because this universe has taken its time to build. It's not like, hey, we've had 4 issues of X-Men, it's time to do a crossover. You know, it's literally we've taken all this time to develop these characters, have their own series, and then kind of do an event type of thing. Will we get that? I don't know, but it'll be interesting if it happens or not.
I could see them waiting another year for that to happen. But
true,
the mention of the, like I mentioned earlier with Transformers, with the organic person bonding with the Matrix, and they were like, I don't think that's ever happened before, got me thinking about Void Rivals and how they have Energon ports on these organic beings. And now I'm wondering, like, was that kind of like a tease for future things to come? Because that could, reveal some stuff. We could cross that over eventually. It could be exciting to go there. I'm also curious to see where the whole thing goes after Daniel Warren Johnson leaves the book.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't even want to go there yet, because it's just like, what are they going to do with it? Like, who's going to take it over? Like, I'm so nervous about it.
Yeah, I am too. But hopefully they get, a really good writer to come on board.
Yep, absolutely. And the next thing for me is like, we're going to get the next like major year of the Ghost Machine imprint. So I know like a lot of stuff with Kat. Like she doesn't really enjoy so much like the Red Coat and the Geiger and the Rook Exodus, but she does like say like if she gives it more time, maybe Rockefellers or Hornsby and Halo and some of the other books that might come out alongside with
right now. Hornsby and High Street are the two where I'm like, I could see myself continuing those two because I love horror. So that's why I like the artwork a lot. That's one that for some reason I keep coming back to. And then Hornsby is just up more my alley with those type of characters. Rockefellers, I'd be interested to see if I stick with it. But the other three is just more personal taste. But I definitely see, I'm glad and see that they're doing well. I'm just glad that indies are, it just shows that when creators can have their voice, like what you could do with it.
Right.
It's especially interesting what Image has done in the past, couple of years with all these imprints that popped up. It's like, why are they
Skybound.
Why do they have so many imprints? But now you got Giant Generator, you got Ghost Machine, you got, I forget what the other one was, but there's like all these imprints now, and they're doing all these amazing books, and it's just they're on a rise right now, and it's just they're doing amazing stuff.
And besides Skybound, it doesn't really matter. Like you could read, again, let's go to Giant Generator. You can read Grommets and you can read Tin Can Society, and they're not connected. They're just part of the same imprint, but you don't need to read both of them at all to understand what's going on. And Ghost Machine too. Again, there might be crossovers in the future, but as of right now, you 100% can read all those titles separately and just be like, cool. I really, again, for me, like I like a little pocket of Ghost Machine. You like a lot of Ghost Machine. I can still read this little pocket and feel cool about that.
Sure. Yeah. And it's like, I was just going to say real quick, even with those those first three Ghost Machine books, the only like Geiger and Redcoat, you can kind of see where they would cross over, but everything else just, it feels very much like its own thing. So to your point.
The next book while it was on the top of my head, we talked about it last week, was the Invincible book. So the one with Battle Beast.
Right.
Battle Beast.
Totally forgot about that.
Yeah. So we got that coming out as well.
That was a part of, I was looking at League of Comic Geeks to like kind of make my list, and that wasn't there.
No, it's not there, but we talked about it last week, how it was announced. So that's going to be coming out. You got that. And then obviously Todd McFarlane continues to expand on like his Spawn universe, which is kind of cool. I think, is it this week or next week? Christmas week. We get Spawn is coming out soon. The new Gunslinger Spawn
or Gunslinger
title. It's called Tales of Gunslinger.
That comes out tomorrow, I think, actually.
Or is it tomorrow?
It's a big week tomorrow.
Yeah.
And on the, we're going to finish.
I was just going to say, and that story is about the character from, there's going to be stories that take place between his original release from like Spawn issue like 147 all the way up until like present day. So you're going to learn more about the origin story. And that one, I think, is written by Jimmy Palmiotti on that one. So that could be a really good book.
So. And another, like in that vein, because obviously Todd McFarlane's doing his own thing, but like Brian Pulido, he's now not doing Kickstarter stuff, it looks like, and he's just doing pre-orders through his site and kind of doing big stuff there. I'm very curious to see where that goes as a Kickstarter person. So it is interesting just to see, like, again, the different avenues people take. Like Todd McFarlane, he makes enough money that he could just do the direct market, and he's just like, whatever, here it is. And then the Brian Pulido route, where he just has such his core audience that he's like, I'm just gonna do this through my website and like not have fees. I'm curious to see how that's gonna do. So it's cool to also just see like these super creators coming from different avenues.
Yeah. And the last thing I really want to see, like, obviously how DC All In continues to see if it gains momentum, the Absolute Universe, what happens with that. And then also I want to see Marvel step up their game a little bit more in 2025. I feel like, this is my opinion, of course, but I feel like this is probably 2024 was one of the weakest Marvel years that I have read. Besides Ultimate Spider-Man, I don't know how many books I was really super excited to read when it came to Marvel this current year.
The only one I had was Exceptional X-Men. Like if I looked at my top 10 list, I had, let me look, I have it still on my thing here. I had Exceptional X-Men and Ultimate Spider-Man. That's it. Those are two of the Marvel books I like. And again, and maybe it's because DC is doing so well. Like this is honestly the best year I think DC's had since the New 52. Like I think this is the
I would
best
say
DC's
second
has
half
done.
of the year. Second half of the year, I would.
Once the All In and everything came
Right.
out and Absolute Power, it's just been great. And I need and want Marvel to be there because like
That's
every
what I
new
want.
title hasn't been
same.
exciting. Like the Laura Kinney book is a great example where it's like, oh, I want that to be more exciting than it is. And then like books like X Factor, more people need to read it. So like it stays because that's such a fun book.
Yeah, I think the what is it, From the Ashes, like little, branding, whatever, it is a good start, just for the X-Men side of things. If we need that kind of, fresh start for the entire line though. And like the Avengers comes to mind. Like I really want to see the Avengers, kicked up, into the top tier where it needs to be in the new year. So I would love to see them done with that. Yeah, it is.
It's what? I mean, you got Jed McKay writing a story saying Avengers vs. X-Men, and it's a baseball game. And it's like, it's like, come on, man. Like that's a little, that's a bait and switch type of deal. Like I get it. It's like, oh, we want to work together and blah, blah, blah. But that's just more filler. Like we're not getting anything out of this book.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and it's so surprising coming from Jed McKay, who is really good writer when with the right characters and the right story.
They just need an exciting event, and I get maybe the Doomsday. I think they focus so much on the movie, not Doomsday, but they focus so much on the movies that there's like, oh, we got to do this event because the movie's coming out. Like I get it, Doctor Doom is going to be a big part of the movies, but like unless you are building into that story, like don't. I can't speak on it. Like, we'll see if it ends up being good, but every event from Marvel has not been very exciting. At least with Absolute Power, it felt like it was leading somewhere. It felt like, oh, we need this event. And guess what? All these all-in books tie into that. As small as The Question or Black Lightning, all the way to Superman, like make it feel like a universe. And again, this we'll always say it because just in case there's new watchers, we are Marvel fans. Like this is us coming from a place of being Marvel fans and saying DC's kind of doing it better right now.
Yeah. It definitely, you're right. It definitely all ties in because you had Absolute Power lead into the return of the Justice League. The Justice League goes to the Justice League Unlimited book, and then it spreads out into the all-in titles. And then right now, you can say that if it wasn't for maybe a few of the X books that people like or the Ultimate Universe, what would people be excited about when it comes to Marvel? Like when you look at the main line of books, right? It's like there's like Avengers, there's Captain America, there's Thor, there's Doctor Strange, there's Iron Man, there's the Hulk, there's Spider-Boy, there's the West Coast Avengers, which that first issue was decent. You have all these books and you have all these solo X-Men books and you have all that stuff, but what's really standing out? There's nothing that's really standing out. I used to really like Hulk, and now Hulk is starting to like, I'm starting to like get bored of it because I feel like I
almost dropped it. Until I was like, this issue was fine. So I was like, okay, I'll keep reading it. But it hasn't been since that first stuff. And honestly, it's so interesting because, again, Absolute Batman sold so well. Transformers sold so well. It's like, I want a Marvel book to be like, look how much we sold. Like, look how crazy these sales were. And even like Uncanny, which is probably one of their bigger books. They never said, like, look how much Uncanny is selling. And that's like you have Gail Simone back and Dave Marquez. I like that book a lot. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I want like I want a Transformers of them. I want an Absolute Batman. And I guess maybe that's Ultimate Spider-Man, but Amazing Spider-Man kind of has this casting shadow over Ultimate Spider-Man that makes it, harder for Marvel to have that success because you're like, wait, this is an Ultimate Universe book. Why can't we have this for your regular book?
An Ultimate Spider-Man, I would probably feel is their best-selling title. I probably would guess that right now. When it comes to Marvel Comics, and it's tough. I just don't feel like they, after the past couple of years of phenomenal independent comic books that have really raised the bar. Like you said, Kat, like Transformers, even though you don't read it, right? Rook Exodus, Geiger.
I mean, you can still tell though, even if you
G.I.
don't
Joe,
into it.
all these other books, right? They're just at next tier, like say Grommets for me, and like, and then you read this, like sometimes you read these Marvel books, and you're like, okay, you close and you're like, all right, that was okay, right? But you're not like excited about it.
It doesn't
Like,
blow your mind.
Yeah, you should be excited about it, right? And those indie books, they get you excited. There's a lot of Marvel books that don't. Ultimate Spider-Man is really, I would say that one, and I would say the Ultimates, but Ultimate Spider-Man is my favorite by far, I would think.
Because it's the only one where you leave it off and you're like, wow, I feel like I got a lot from that issue. Wow, there's something to think about here. And yeah, sometimes I read like a lot of Marvel books and like you question like, did I enjoy my comics? This like, what's up here? Like, do I like comics anymore? And then you read something like Grommets, you're like, oh, this is why I like comics.
Yeah.
Or you honestly read something like Superwoman, which is a really like plain Jane issue of just like girl night out. Here's a little origin story, and then you have a big cliffhanger where you're like, wow, that actually is really exciting. That's gonna make me want to read that Superman issue. Wow, the art's really good. Wow, there's good characterization here. It's just as simple as that sometimes.
Right. Sometimes you don't have to like reinvent the wheel, right? Moon Knight has been one of the real standout Marvel books. I would agree on that one. That's another one that, if that's the Jed McKay book, that's it right there. That book. That's the one that he does a job with.
And I agree. The problem is, it's just Moon Knight is not, like one of your top characters. It's not something everybody's going to read. So, but it is a really good book though, for sure.
Yeah. So that's just one of the things that I hope for in 2025. Marvel does something to just kind of, hey, let's get better. Let's put out some solid stories, and that's what I hope for. I want them to be like how DC did. Like DC finally really stepped up their game, and
they just have a creator to do it. They just need, again, maybe a Donny Cates or someone to come back and just be like, let's just do this with Marvel. And again, that was the big trick of DC. It is now creator ran, and you can just tell. It's just like, it's more about what are the creators' stories they want to tell, an editorial helping guide to do that, and that's what editorial should do.
Yeah. I don't think, some of the stuff that they have is just some cheap gimmicks. Don't do the cheap gimmick stuff like Eddie Brock is Carnage and and stuff like that. Like it's just sometimes just go back
Spider
to
knot.
Spider knot. Spider garlic knot. It's just like,
those are the kind of tricks. Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad.
I was just going to say, those are the kind of tricks that led to the near demise of the entire industry.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely right. So let's hope that that happens in 2025.
Yeah.
You guys have any other things? I think we kind of covered most of it, right?
I just want more people to like read indies. And when I say indies, not just Transformers and G.I. Joe, I want more people given chances to. Obviously, like I could go on about Kickstarter and all that. Like I want more people to read stuff from there. But like just taking that aside, the direct market, there's like stuff like Grommets and things like that I wish more people were reading and give more of a chance to. So that's my hope, is to give more indie books a chance.
For my instance, like I had, not only for Kat and Brand's books, right, that put out Kickstarters all the time, but just like, for instance, with me and Mark Spears, like, we got together and I helped promote his Kickstarter and it was successful. And then he put it out in the direct market and it's freaking the gold mine right now. Like people want to collect it. So it's just like, you never know when these Kickstarters can really hit it big. And, and I think it's awesome. I think it's a really, really great thing.
Yeah. Look at Kickstarter, guys. That's my advice to you guys. Look
definitely
through
look
Kickstarter.
Look at Kickstarter. Pay attention to the smaller publishers, Mad Cave, Ahoy, even like Boom Studios and Dynamite, stuff like that. There's all kinds of good books from all different kinds of genres and everything. Just, you got to look for them.
Well, and I guess with that, I think we're going to wrap up the show tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, the reminder
Yeah.
that we won't be on for 2 weeks because literally the holiday is the day that we would go live. So I think it's like Christmas Eve
Yeah.
and New Year's
Yeah.
Eve. So we're not doing that. But I think we're gonna be back on the 6th. No, the 7th of January.
That sounds right. Yeah, that definitely sounds
Yeah.
right. So, guys,
We'll be
as
back.
always, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the holiday season. Just remember, starting next week, there's going to be definitely delays in your comic books. Tomorrow should be okay, but it's going to be probably the following week and the week after that, unless you've been affected by this whole Diamond situation that went on where they closed the warehouse. So I know a lot of people have been affected by it, but during the holidays, since New Comic Book Day is on the holiday, you probably won't get your comics to maybe Thursday or even Friday. So, yeah, so there's that. But anyway, enjoy your holidays, guys. We wish you all the best. Thank you so much for your support. Subscribe to our channels, Only Good Comics, Cat Comic Uno, Comic Book Corner 2.0. Give it a thumbs up. Hit the bell so you don't miss any stuff from us, guys. And on your way out, make sure you give this show a like. And also, if you watch it post live, give it a like as well. Guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you in a few weeks. Good night.
Bye.